Chapter 10 to 12. As time passed, Yuto had already been in the village for 6 days. During this period, everything was calm. Yuto moved between the clan grounds and a secret training field, diligently yet monotonously. Sometimes, he would encounter characters who appeared frequently in the original story. Notably, yesterday, he happened to see a heavily pregnant Makoto Uchiha. By the end of this year, Itachi would be born into the Uchiha family, bringing unprecedented pain to this ancient, illustrious shinobi clan. This made Yuto somewhat anxious. Although there were still 16 years before the official start of the Naruto storyline, with the main characters gradually appearing, he felt that time was running short. However, no matter how anxious he was, he could only force himself to calm down and continue his training. On this particular day, Yuto got up early as usual. After tidying up his clothes and preparing to head to the secret training field, he was stopped by 2 clan guards as soon as he stepped out of his yard. "Yuto Hyuga," said the Hyuga clansman, wearing a forehead protector, his tone as flat as a robot. "The clan head has instructed me to inform you that there will be a banquet tonight, and you are to attend with the clan head." Banquet. Yuto Hyuga's heart skipped a beat. "Could you tell me more about it, brother?" "I've delivered the message. That's all I know." "Oh, is the clan head available now?" "I'd like to. The clan head is busy." The messenger's eyelids didn't even flicker as he replied, precisely following his instructions. "Don't go anywhere today, Yuto Hyuga, and make sure you don't act improperly tonight." Yuto pondered over these words, then bowed respectfully. "Thank you, brother." After the messenger left, Yuto stood alone in the courtyard, his heart racing. He had a hunch that this might be related to the conversation he had with Hirasan a few days ago. The day passed quickly, and as night fell, a carriage stopped in front of Yuto's house. He boarded the carriage and joined the clan head and others at the gate, before leaving the Hyuga territory in a grand procession. Soon, they arrived at their destination. As Yuto got off the carriage, the first thing he saw was a peculiar emblem composed of 3 lines and 5 small circles. This was the Sarutobi clan's crest. They were at the Sarutobi clan's compound. Following the attendants, the Hyuga clan entered the main residence. Since Hyuga-san Sarutobi was inaugurated as the 3rd Hokage, the Sarutobi clan's territory had been expanded multiple times. The main residence, in particular, had been transformed into a formidable banquet hall, where Hiruzen often hosted prominent figures of the village. It barely qualified as a family gathering, lacking the absolute hierarchy of the Hokage's office. In the main hall, Hiruzen sat in the central seat, with several long tables to his right, all empty. To his left sat about a dozen people, all with handsome features and dark, pure eyes. Their bearing was marked by an accumulated pride, slightly restrained even in the presence of the 3rd Hokage. They were from the Uchiha clan. "Hayashi, don't just stand there," Hiruzen chuckled. Hayashi Hyuga bowed before taking a seat, followed by the rest of the Hyuga clan. Thus, the 3 most powerful factions of Konoha Hiruzen's lineage, the Uchiha and the Hyuga, were gathered together. With all the guests present, servants began to serve dishes, and the banquet officially commenced. Yuto took a bite of sashimi, observing the attendees. On the Hyuga side, besides the clan head, Hayashi Hyuga, his brother Hazashi Hyuga was also present, along with 3 elderly clan members and 4 young shinobi, including Yuto. Among them, Yuto and another white-eyed boy were from the branch family, while the remaining boy and the only girl were from the main family. The distinction between the Hyuga main and branch families was easy to spot. Those who didn't wear forehead protectors or bandages to cover their foreheads were from the main family, which seemed to be a privilege worth flaunting. The Uchiha's side had a similar setup. Clan head Fugaku Uchiha, his wife Mikoto Uchiha, several elders, and 4 young shinobi. As for the host of the banquet, Hirusan Sarutobi, 3 people sat beside him. One had long white hair with red markings under his eyes, and a tall, muscular frame. Despite his lazy demeanor, his broad shoulders gave an impression of reliability, as if he could bear any burden. Another had pale skin and golden, serpentine eyes. Although handsome, he exuded an aura of fear. Despite his intimidating presence, he had a peculiar allure, dangerous yet compelling. The last one was a woman with flowing blonde hair, an extraordinarily beautiful face, and a diamond-shaped purple mark on her forehead. She sat there boldly, gulping down alcohol, her demeanor as imposing as any man's. These 3 were Hirusan's esteemed disciples, Konoha's legendary Sannin, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade. At this time, only Orochimaru was stationed in Konoha, holding a significant position. Jiraiya traveled the world, writing novels, while Tsunade, suffering from hemophobia, had distanced herself from Konoha's political center, wandering with the young Shizune, always losing at gambling. Hirusan must have put in considerable effort to gather all 3 of his disciples. So many important people, Yuto thought, as he ate slowly, knowing this banquet couldn't be just about food, and thus refrained from eating too much. Amidst the clinking of glasses, the atmosphere was harmonious. Though young, both Fugaku and Hayashi were shrewd individuals, while Hiruzen was a seasoned tactician whose words were flawless. After chatting for a few dozen minutes, Hiruzen finally tapped the table lightly and smiled at the Uchiha side. Fugaku, the child to your left, is he Swift Blade Shuto? Yes, that's him, Fugaku replied humbly. This boy is my nephew. He loves using swords and has gained some notoriety outside the village. Shuto, greetings, Lord Hokage. Shuto Uchiha stepped forward from the table, kneeling on one knee. His voice was strong, full of youthful energy and pride. Good child, Hiruzen smiled, stroking his beard. Hayashi, the one behind you must be Shinosuke Hyuga, correct? I've heard he mastered the 8 trigrams, palms revolving heaven at a young age, quite the prodigy. Shinosuke Hyuga stood and bowed, his forehead smooth and unmarked. Hiruzen seemed very pleased. Looking at the 8 young Uchiha and Hyuga shinobi, he laughed heartily. When I was young, following the second Hokage, the world was in turmoil. My classmates and I would often engage in friendly battles of ninjutsu and taijutsu, finding great joy in it. Today, with my 3 disciples here, and Fugaku and Hayashi too, drinking with an old man like me must be dull. How about letting these youngsters spar a bit? Under the table, Hayashi Hyuga's hand clenched tightly. 3 days ago, a certain captain from the ANBU suddenly appeared in the Hyuga clan's territory and left him a message. One of the Sannin will reopen their dojo and select suitable individuals from the Hyuga and Uchiha clans as disciples. In 3 days, bring 4 promising young Hyuga under 14 years old to the Sarutobi clan's grounds. Only the heavens knew how excited Hayashi was upon hearing this. Hiruzen Sarutobi, being over 50 years old, was soon approaching the end of his prime as a shinobi. Unlike the Uzumaki or Senju clans who possessed strong vitality, his energy would decline and he would eventually have to relinquish the position of Hokage. Currently, the highest contenders for the 4th Hokage in Konoha were Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade of the Sannin. Being chosen as a disciple by one of the Sannin meant that the bloodline of either the Uchiha or Hyuga would enter the core of Konoha's shinobi hierarchy. This meant that, with proper maneuvering, Members of both clans could potentially sit on the Hokage's seat in the future. Although one of Jiraiya's disciples, Minato Namikaze, had a Uchiha student, no one in Konoha saw Minato as a serious candidate for the next Hokage. He was too young, and despite his strength, he lacked his own base of support. In this sense, Obito Uchiha was merely an add-on and wasn't regarded as a legitimate part of the shinobi lineage. Yet, before Hayashi could ponder further, the ANBU captain added, "The following isn't an order, but a personal request from the Hokage." He said the information Yuto Hyuga desperately brought back was very useful. Give the young man a chance and bring him along. After saying this, the ANBU captain left, leaving Hayashi in a whirlwind of thoughts. What? The Hokage wants me to bring Yuto? Why would the shinobi hierarchy consider someone from the branch family? How could the leader of the village have a caged bird above him? Is this the Hokage's dissatisfaction with our clan's branch system? But the founding rules of the village dictate non-interference in clan affairs. He thought a lot, but couldn't decipher it. Though he felt a strong urge to summon Yuto for questioning, he refrained out of respect for the third Hokage. Now, at the banquet, Hayashi, Hyuga, and Fugaku Uchiha exchanged glances briefly before quickly averting their eyes. No matter what, this opportunity must be seized by my Hyuga Uchiha clan. All right. Jiraiya enthusiastically supported his teacher as shinobi. Why waste time with formalities? If there's no excitement, we might as well take a bath in the hot springs. Tsunade snorted at this, glaring at Jiraiya, knowing he was likely to gather material during such an activity. Orochimaru remained silent, but smiled, clearly indicating he was going along with the flow. Jiraiya, unfazed by Tsunade's glare, laughed heartily. Come on, young men and women, where's your spirit? No need for drawing lots or picking names. If there's someone you've got a grudge against, just go for it. No rules if you want to take on 7 at once. Go ahead, Yuto's mind word. He realized this banquet was organized for the seinen to select their disciples. Having the Hokage's direct lineage take in members of the Uchiha and Hyuga clans carried significant political implications. In Konoha, being part of the shinobi hierarchy's core meant being in the running for the Hokage's nomination. He wondered why the original story didn't mention new disciples for the Sannin. Was it abandoned, or was it his presence that led to this banquet? Contemplating these things, Yuto didn't stand up first, but instead sipped his tea quietly. I'll go first, Shuto Uchiha suddenly exclaimed. True to his moniker Quick Blade, Shuto Uchiha was aggressive and fiery. He bowed to Hirusen Sarutobi, the Sannin, and his clan leader, then stepped forward, shouting, Hyuga folks, will you come at me one by one, or all at once? Duto clearly saw Fugaku's slight grimace. A fool, no doubt about it, Duto thought with a hidden smirk. While the Hyuga clan's rules were stricter and less flamboyant than the Uchiha, the patience of young shinobi was ultimately limited. Shinosuke Hyuga first bowed formally, then approached Shuto Uchiha. Uchiha, Shuto I, Shinosuke Hyuga will be your opponent. The space inside the house was insufficient, so the two moved to the courtyard. Those inside, possessing either hereditary dojutsu or being cage-level shinobi, could clearly observe every detail of the spar. Without further ado, the young men began their battle. A fireball the size of a carriage marked Shuto's initial attack. The fool's fire style. Great fireball technique forced Shinosuke to dodge, after which Shuto drew his blade, combining it with a body flicker technique, charging with lightning speed. Bang! A hemispherical chakra shield exploded in the courtyard, deflecting the fierce blade. 8 trigrams, palms revolving heaven. Yuto squinted. veins around his eyes bulging as he activated his Byakugan. Revolving Heaven was a secret technique of the main family, a powerful absolute defense against all physical attacks. Typically, branch family members weren't taught this and had to steal and master it on their own. Observing it up close was a rare opportunity Yuto wouldn't miss. While he was busy absorbing every detail, the battle in the courtyard grew increasingly intense. Shuto's eyes glowed red, with two tomos spinning wildly in each. His blade, fast as lightning and crackling with electricity, indicated the use of lightning style. Shinosuke wasn't to be outdone either. After using Revolving Heaven once to counter the combined fireball and sword strike, he relied on solid gentle fist techniques and the all-seeing Byakugan to dodge and counterattack. The fierce clash lasted less than 5 minutes, with Shuto narrowly defeating Shinosuke. In terms of dynamic vision, the Sharingan indeed surpassed the Byakugan. With the back of his blade against Shinosuke's neck, Shuto smirked. "You're strong, but not my match. Under these eyes, you are the caged bird." Fugaku Uchiha's face turned dark as coal. He regretted bringing his nephew along. "Does your mouth come with lightning style? Do you have to deliver such shocking remarks, calling the Hyuga's branch family caged birds, and not congratulating Tsunade on her family's prosperity?" Shinosuke Hyuga was furious, his Byakugan nearly turning red, but with the Hokage and both clan leaders present, he could only grit his teeth and approach Shudo to form the seal of reconciliation. What remarkable skill! Yuto sipped the tea leaves from the water, chewing slowly. Even Yuto had to admit that the two boys who had just finished their duel were geniuses, reaching the threshold of Jonin at just 12 or 13 years old. After making the seal of reconciliation, Shinosuke Hyuga's face looked as if it could drip water. On the other side, Shuto Uchiha still brimmed with energy, holding a sword on his shoulder as he sneered at the Hyuga group. "Come at me. One-on-one, you stand no chance." The Tutomo Sharingan spun slowly, casting a crimson glow in the night. Arrogant, powerful, the Uchiha clan was always contradictory sometimes. You wanted to tear them apart, and other times you couldn't help but be fascinated by them. Young and talented, no one could bear such an insult, especially in front of their clan leader, the Hokage, and the 3 legendary shinobi. If the young people of the Hyuga clan could tolerate this, they might as well rename themselves the Hyuga, the clan of turtles. The only girl with the Byakugan in the group raised her eyebrows, ready to face the opponent. "Just returned." Shinosuke Hyuga discreetly pulled her back and shook his head slightly, then signaled to Yuto and another branch family boy, "Wear down the Uchiha's stamina and chakra, and let her finish him off." Who played the cannon fodder, who took the bullets, and who seized the final victory was never a question in the Hyuga clan. Yuto smiled at Shinosuke, giving a reassuring look. Then, following the Hyuga teachings, the boy next to Yuto put down the teacup according to the ancient rites, wiped the water off the table, and adjusted the folds of his wide white robe. After this impeccable process, the Hyuga branch family boy was already standing in the courtyard center. Naruto Hyuga. The branch family boy was quite proper, bowing politely. Shuto tilted his head, leaning on his sword. "A branch family member, yes. Then you're even less of a match." The arrogant Uchiha boy waved his hand. "The previous one without the Byakugan restriction lost. You're no match for me, perhaps." Naoto raised his right hand, forming the classic, gentle fist stance. "But protecting the main family is my duty. How could I fear sacrificing all my blood and flesh for the main family, all right? Though I don't quite understand, if that's your reason to challenge a stronger opponent, I accept." Shuto drew his sword again, laughing arrogantly. "Come. Fight. Yuto lowered his head, no longer watching the fight. He was afraid that his eyes would uncontrollably reveal his killing intent while watching the battle. This killing intent was not directed at the Uchiha, sacrificing all blood and flesh for the main family. To fight to the last drop of blood for a main family that brands oneself and one's descendants with the mark of a slave. Cruel and cold oppressors were detestable, but it was normal. They were natural adversaries. No amount of hatred was too much. However, what truly chills the hearts of the hot-blooded is the sight of the indifferent, fully tamed slave companions beside them. Such a main family, such a branch family, such a grotesque and twisted clan. While Yuto was lost in thought, the battle in the courtyard was nearing its end. Shuto was right. The branch family boy indeed stood no chance where the main family with stronger keki, genkai, and complete hidden techniques failed. Naoto was beaten, his face covered in blood. The Uchiha weren't a sadistic clan, but Naoto's persistence, getting up again and again, was astonishing. Even Shuto couldn't stand it anymore, channeling lightning chakra to paralyze his opponent's muscles. Naoto lay on the ground for quite a while before getting up. As he walked back, still bleeding, he wiped his wounds and stole cautious, yet hopeful, glances at Shinosuke Hyuga and the main family girl, like a dog awaiting its master's praise. However, Shinosuke Hyuga showed no approval or pity, not even a glance. Yuto stood up with his head lowered. He walked through the corridor into the courtyard, brushing past Naoto without any exchange, as if they were parallel lines. Another branch family member, Shuto panted, having defeated 2 opponents. Even though he felt exhausted, but the young Uchiha's voice was still energetic. "You won't beat me either." Yuto raised his head, his face devoid of expression. He cracked his pinky finger, producing a crisp sound, and with chakra naturally flowing, the veins around his eyes bulged as he activated his Byakugan. "Yuto Hyuga, at your service. I'm Shuto Uchiha." "Oh, Yuto Hyuga. So, you're the Hyuga's jewel." Shuto stroked his chin, clicking his tongue in wonder. The Uchiha clan, naturally endowed with immense love, was sensitive to others' emotions. "You're angry." As expected, the Hyuga are indeed a united clan. Yuto almost let out a derisive laugh. "But no matter how touching your camaraderie, you can't avoid defeat by my blade." Boom! Shuto's vision blurred, losing sight of Yuto. "Good move." Shuto roared, his tutamos spinning rapidly. The Sharingan's dynamic vision, peerless in the shinobi world, though barely, managed to capture Yuto's figure. Your body flicker technique is fast, but under these eyes, you're destined to fail. The sword was drawn, a finely honed technique slicing through the night, carrying lightning chakra, aiming for Uto's body. In a flash, Shuto's mind formulated the next move. This slash wouldn't take down the Hyuga's jewel. He'd likely duck, allowing a knee strike. Bang! A loud crash interrupted Shuto's thoughts. His sword halted mid-swing, gripped tightly by a hand. Even among jonin, few could withstand a blade with their bare hands, especially one infused with powerful lightning chakra. Yet, Yuto did. With terrifying finger strength and wrist power honed through relentless training, excellent vision and courage, but most importantly, with the chakra flame dancing around Yuto's hand like a lively, fiery beast's fang, self-created ninja jutsu, gentle fist art, lion's fang bite. This was the only technique Yuto Hyuga had created in 12 years. Combining his understanding of taijutsu and gentle fist with his imagination from past manga, resulting in a deadly move. The chakra flame was sharp and agile, like the fangs of a moving beast. Creak, creak, the precious sword groaned in agony, ready to snap at any moment. Yuto advanced indifferently, his other hand also igniting with Lion's Fang Bite. With power and speed surpassing most Jonin, this hand struck Shuto, blood splattered, and the Uchiha boy was sent flying.